Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and we have my first official Jurassic World Dominion Walmart score. I finally have begun finding some Mattel Jurassic World Dominion figures at a Walmart near me. I have checked two others since, no luck whatsoever, but I was able to find the Rowdy Roars Velociraptor Beta, and I will tell you right now that this figure is incredibly overpriced. Ridiculous. When I first found it on the shelf, I didn't know exactly what the price point would be because there was no tag for it or anything. And then when I got up to the register, I found out that it was $25. Now, initially I thought it was $25 until I saw it in hand, and I realized how much smaller it is compared to the previous figures that were like this. This is much, much smaller than the previous, Carnotaurus, Velociraptor Blue, and Indominus that they released of this kind of style figure. And for it to still be $25 just doesn't really make sense to me. So I feel like they definitely have price gouged this one quite a bit compared to the amount of dinosaur that you get. Although the figure does look really neat as far as a Velociraptor Beta goes, it's pretty darn adorable. And you can see that as far as the actual box art goes, it's awesome. I love the fact that we have like a cage here, and then our little Velociraptor Beta is kind of breaking out of the cage. It looks really neat. We have a very cool Jurassic World logo up there, as well as the Uncaged logo down here, and then kind of a sneak peek of what the dinosaur can do right there. And then if we turn it around, we can see again another sneak peek of what the dinosaur is capable of, as well as the Dilophosaurus that is also in this line of Rowdy Roars that I was unable to find. It was not at my store, so hopefully I'll have that one very soon. But regardless, I'm really interested to see this one out of the box, so let's pop it out right now. And here is our little Velociraptor Beta out of the packaging, and you can see Velociraptor Beta definitely looks adorable here. Obviously, it's not screen accurate. It's not meant to be. It's meant to be just a goofy kind of a kiddish version of a baby Velociraptor. Pretty much Beta or Blue, because you could probably look at it as either, Velociraptor, since they are pretty much the same. But again, it looks pretty neat. But my biggest gripe with this is the fact that the price is ridiculous for this size of a figure. Like, there's just a drastic difference between this one and the previous one. Now, let me go get that one. Here we have the Velociraptor Beta figure with Velociraptor Blue. The Velociraptor Blue here is the previous sort of similar style figure like this. And you can see such a huge difference in size as far as these two figures go. And there's even more paint, really. I mean, kind of. But if you look at the blue stripe here on Beta ends like right after the hip, whereas Blue here, it actually ran almost the entire way out onto the tail. So again, there's just a drastic difference, I think, in overall size. At least we do have some alternate color here for the lower jaw, though, on Beta. But they both cost the same, and they both cost right around the $25 range, which I think is just crazy that, again, they would be the same price, but such a drastic difference in size. So you're getting a lot less Velociraptor for the same price that we were getting before. And yes, I know things have already begun going up as far as prices, like even the, Roarovore style figures and everything. All the prices have increased, but not like that type of an increase. Like this figure here, the Velociraptor Beta, in my opinion, should cost no more than about $15. I feel like it would be a perfect $15 figure. And honestly, when I saw it in store, that's what I thought it would be. And then when I took it up to the register and realized it was $25, I was so blown away by the fact that, again, it's really not a $25 toy. But regardless, let's go ahead, jump straight to a closer look at this right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt, you can see that detail-wise, it is absolutely beautiful. And with the larger head that we have for this particular figure, you can really see how nice the detailing is overall. Like, there's a lot more detail to look at than on like a smaller figure like an Attack Pack or something like that. So you can really get a good idea of just how talented the sculptors are that work at Mattel, and just how good of a job they can do on the fine detail of their figures when you see a much larger version. You can see the nostrils sculpted out up here. We've kind of like a glass eye type of a look, which really looks, very lifelike, way better than what you would normally get with just a little bit of paint application. And this is definitely a beautiful, very lifelike eye for the figure. You do have an articulated jaw, of course, and you can see the inside of the mouth sports a really nice pinkish tone in there, nice gloss coat as well. And each and every tooth is individually sculpted, individually painted. Well, the lower jaw kind of has just like a long run of the teeth, but on the top you can see every tooth is individually sculpted and painted, and it looks really good. All of the teeth also have a nice gloss coat to them, which is very nice to see. And then as you move here along the course of the raptor, you can see that we primarily have a gray, and then we also have a yellowish tone here for the lower jaw. And then we get the blue stripe, and the blue stripe does have the white outline, and that looks really good, really nice and natural as far as the application of the paint. You see some nice creasing in the neck as you move down the back of our raptor. Beautiful scale detail continuing as you move down the course of the raptor. And then once we reach the body, the overall style of texturing and everything changes pretty drastically, because you can see like we have some beautiful scale detail here, but once we get down here into the body, although it still looks really good, you just don't see that same style of scale detail. Like looking right here, if you look up here on the back, you can see exactly how dramatic that difference is. Again, I'm not saying that that's bad, but it definitely looks a little bit off-putting, I would say. But at least the blue stripe does continue to line up perfectly with the head, and you can see that that blue stripe continues to run along the back and then right past the hip region before it completely disappears. We do have some, speckling and everything throughout, like we usually do on most Mattel figures. And again, the detailing, although not exactly the same style or quite as highly detailed as what we saw up there, does still look really good. You can see some very nice texturing to the skin. You have some beautiful muscle definition here in the thigh. Very, very small legs and gigantic feet, but the muscle definition and everything does look really good. You also have some very nice muscle definition in the arms up here. You can see the hands are sculpted pretty nicely, but unfortunately we don't have any nail paint on the hands. We do have nail paint on the absolutely massive feet though, and you can see they're painted with a nice gray, also sport a beautiful gloss coat, so they shine very nicely. And you do have a dew claw back there, but as always, it is not painted. And then as we move out here into the tail, again, the detailing continues to look really nice. You have a very small tail because, again, the proportions of this are very baby-like and obviously not meant to be taken as far as like what a real raptor would potentially look like. You can see, though, that the yellowish tone of color runs fairly far out here and almost reaches the tail, but not quite. Pretty typical of Mattel to end it right about here, but considering it starts at the lower jaw, runs the entire underside almost, that actually looks pretty good. And then if we look at the opposing side, you're really not going to see much difference. And in fact, the only real difference that I would imagine you'd probably see over here would be the fact that the blue stripe here does run up and over and, under the eye and everything like it actually would on Velociraptor Blue or Beta. And it looks really good yet again. The actual application of that paint looks fantastic on the figure, but that's really about all the differences I think that you'd see over here compared to the initial side. So sculpt-wise, it is a very nice sculpt. Again, obviously meant to be a bit more of a goofy looking version of a Velociraptor Beta figure. Not meant to be taken as far as like screen accuracy, but it is still a really adorable looking figure and very nicely detailed overall. Now this figure does have an action feature, it does have a sound effect ordeal going on, but one thing that's very interesting is the fact that when I bought this, it didn't have batteries in it, and I think that's the first time I've ever purchased a Mattel figure that had some sort of like a battery operated feature that didn't include batteries, and I thought maybe the batteries had just died on this one here, and I actually went through every one of the other ones that were on the shelf just to see if the action feature was going to work, and it didn't. I don't know if that's because this kind of like walks when you push the button at some point, or what exactly, but the batteries were definitely not included. When I opened it up, there were no batteries involved at all with the figure, but you basically have a little button up here on the top of the head you push, and you can see he does a whole lot of snapping, also makes some cute noises. And I think, there we go, we got him going now. He's running around, and he looks pretty adorable, I will say that. We'll get a, further back view. He definitely is adorable. He makes some cute noises. He has a very obviously baby-like action feature. Little kids will absolutely love this figure. Even me as an adult collector, I enjoy it. I definitely wouldn't have purchased it for $25 if I didn't enjoy it, but it's obviously not one of the best Mattel figures out there. But still, a pretty fun figure with... Oh, he almost walked right out of the screen, but a pretty adorable action feature. As far as a size goes for our Velociraptor Beta, lengthwise, you were looking at about 8¼ inches or around 21 centimeters, and then for a height to the top of the head, just shy of 5 inches or around 12.5 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon in comparison to our Velociraptor Beta figure, and you can definitely see that there is a pretty good size to the figure, though it still isn't quite as large as the previous figures of this style, like the Indominus, the Carnotaurus, and the Velociraptor Blue that we had just taken a look at earlier with this figure, were all much larger than this style figure, but still cost the same price. So the fact that the figure is way smaller now and still remains the $25 price range, I think is definitely not a good thing and probably the biggest downside to the figure overall. But regardless, you can still see that it's, a little on the smaller side, but still sports an okay size. And then for one other size, here is the only other Velociraptor Beta figure that we currently have in comparison, again, to the Rowdy Roars version. And you can definitely see a huge difference in size between these two, although this one looks a lot better, I think, as far as the sculpt goes. This one's obviously meant more for younger kids and just kind of to look adorable, but again, you can see that there is still a very drastic size difference between these two. So this Uncaged Rowdy Roars Velociraptor Beta figure is absolutely a fun figure. Very nicely sculpted, sporting some beautiful, very crisp detail that you usually see on Mattel figures. No problem as far as that goes. The detailing looks great. It sports all of your usual Mattel detail overall, so, it looks very, very good as far as the sculpt goes. The paint as well looks pretty good, it's not amazing. I feel like the blue stripe definitely could have run further out onto the tail. It would have looked a little bit better, but considering it's just a goofy looking dinosaur figure, it's not the end of the world. We do have painted nails on the feet as well, which is a huge plus. Of course, no dew claw paint and no paint on the hands, which definitely could have made a huge difference, but it still looks pretty good as far as the paint work goes. And the glass eye effect that the Raptor has is absolutely awesome. I love that. I wish there was a way to kind of incorporate that with all of the Mattel figures, but unfortunately, that's just not possible. Overall, it's got a really cool action feature and definitely some fun noises. I really do quite like it. I think it's nice and adorable, like you would kind of expect for a baby Velociraptor like this. And although the proportions are obviously really, really off as far as what a dinosaur would look like, it's still, again, not meant to be accurate. It's meant to just be cute. And I think they did a good job as far as that goes. The only really big downside to the figure is the fact that, again, it costs $25 for a figure that should have been no more than around the $15 range, maybe $16 tops. It's a pretty cute figure with, some pretty fun action features and sounds, but considering the price point for the larger versions we've had in the past were the same as this, it just doesn't make sense to me for this one to cost $25 when you got more dinosaur for the same price before. Regardless, again, that's really the only downside that I can pick out for this figure. Otherwise, it's a really fun, very adorable looking Velociraptor Beta. So if you are interested, make sure you check your local Walmart, as that's where I found this one. And make sure you pick it up if you do in fact find it. And also like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.